Hello everyone, I'm Amy from Taiwan Docs, which is under Taiwan Film and Audiovisual Institute. And today we are very happy to have Hui Ying, the curator of Woman Makes Waves International Film Festival, and the two directors of Life with Happiness, Ya-Ting and Wan-Yu, here with us for an online Q&A session. And if you're a regular on DA Films, you might have noticed that we are teaming up with Taiwan International Documentary Festival, bringing many Taiwanese documentary online. And this time we are very happy to collaborate with Women Make Waves Film Festival, featuring their 30th anniversary special program this time. And Women Make Wave is one of the major film festivals in Taiwan, and which is supporting female directors and also supporting the gender equality and the rights of all. And the original program is featuring 27 films and selected by their curators and finding the films from the archive spanning from 1993 to 2022. And the program is not only a retrospective, but also looking for the films that is being left out from the previous editions. And this time, we find the program is very meaningful, and we select 13 films from the program, mostly documentaries and also experimental films and some animation. And we want to share with a broader international audience. And we hope you like the selection. So we can now start with the Q&A.
And this is Hui Ying, the curator of Women Make Wave Film Festival in Taiwan. And thanks to Taiwan Doc, we collaborate on this special program, which is in celebration of 30th anniversary Women Make Wave Film Festival 2 years ago in 2023, which is called Inventing the Time, the 30th anniversary special presentation, where we, as mentioned by Amy, saying that we selected a partial program from the special presentation to sort of reorganize it into the presentation for DA films for the online viewing. And among these titles, Life with Happiness is a short film that is made in 2006. And we are very happy to sit down with Ya-Ting and Wan-Yu. Both have directed or produced or acquired many myriad roles in documentary filmmaking for many years, and each also having a feature film under the belt. So I think it's quite interesting to look back their collaborated effort for a short film that is made in their college years. And for Life with Happiness, as film tackles with the situation of leprosy patient in Taiwan. And in fact, leprosy patients have been constantly suffer from systematic isolation, stigmatization and discrimination for many years and over the world. And maybe some of the very famous example that is presented in film would be For All Kids, The House is Black, made in the 60s. And that about like the leper colony exists in a very self-contained community cut away from the rest of the world. And if turning the gaze back to Taiwan, Life with Happiness is also a kind of a place where many situations in Taiwan has collaged together and to present a very complicated situation. And for those who may not that familiar with the historical background of Listen Sanitarium in Taiwan, maybe can you first briefly introduce the background of Listen Sanitarium and what was the social atmosphere concerning the situation in the early 2000s?
Hi everyone, my name is Wan-Yu. I'm one of the director of Life with Happiness.
I'm Ya-Ting. I'm the other one of the director of Life with Happiness.
The Lotion Sanatorium was established during the Japanese colonial period. And at the very beginning, the patients were directly isolated from society and disconnected to their original family. And after the KMT government took over Taiwan, and later on the treatment methods were introduced. But the situation of the discrimination in the society is still not improved. And the human rights of the policy remains weak. Then the residents enter their old age and face the demolition of Lotion for the construction of the MRT deposit. That shows the discrimination and took advantage of them again.
During those period of time in Taiwan, we actually facing a huge debate of urban renovation, which means in Taipei city there is a lot of demolition and renovation happening in Taiwan. So at those period of time, Lawson was one of the most important significant social movement, anti-eviction movement in Taiwan. At the time I can vividly remember the atmosphere in Taiwan. At the time, in Lawson, there is a lot of scholars and students go into Lawson to protect the patient's human rights and also trying to remind the historical site. And then lots of the students using the new, at the time was new, social platform called BBS, which is the text-based social network, and trying to broadcast their stories, their will of not moving away. And was quite big. I remember there were thousands of people participate in the parade to support these issues. So at the time was kind of the most important grassroots social movement in Taiwan, and that was the time that Wan-Yu and I were intriguing and trying to get into their stories and trying to figure out what happened in the sanatorium.
And can you talk about like how you two decided to make a film together about the sanatorium?
We met in our university, and at the time I joined a theater troupe, and people I met there, they shared the story about the Lotion Sanatorium to me. Then I feel that very interesting, and I feel that I was not knowing too much thing about our society. So this is my first time to try to stepping out of my personal life framework and try to learning about the whole society. And for us, actually, we worked together, I think several times in previous work in our school. And at the very beginning of our graduation project, actually, we want to make a
Experimental film.
yeah, and we think we can imagine a lot of things, but after we first visit Lotion, and we realized that we are really ignorant, and and we change our mind. We want to know about the entire issue of Lotion Sanatorium, and it's like we filming and we learn about the issues together.
So do you remember the first time we come to Lawson? We get to Lawson is during the music concert on the
Yes.
retreat, and that was a very beautiful time, right? Like we walk, climb up to their home, and we first see the patients, right?
Mm-hmm.
and we see a lot of students, young students, and they were sitting together and as a friend, and we were eating noodles. Thinking soup.
I forgot the
You
noodles.
forgot the noodles part.
But I still remember about the first time we talked to the residents there, and really it is a very special feeling from them. It's like maybe it's like I don't know how to say that.
How to say?
Really pure.
Pure.
Yeah, and they are really welcome to us, and even we are actually the first time to meet each other is like nothing, and so the experience that they really is really
Touching.
yeah, touching and really vivid. Still, we can still recall it from now.
I think at the time we went to Los and we see the sunset, and it was very beautiful. It was people are singing, and sometimes the patient will be singing too, and there's this they sing their stories. They tell their story through their singing, and I think it was very powerful. And at the time we were talking to the residents, lots of residents actually. At the time there's a lot of supporter and students come to us, and so they were open-minded. They believe the people from outside can help and improve their life, which is very different, especially right now when I know more story about leprosy patients in other society, which is very different because most of the patients who having leprosy disease, they trying to not to be seen, not to be known, and not to talk to the outsider for their disease, for their life. However, because of the demolition, because of this movement, these patients were open immediately to us, even though we are strangers. So I think at the time we feel a very deep connection as the human level, that people desire to be understood and people desire to be known, to hear their story. I think that was very touching part. And at the time, Wan-Yu and I, we were riding motorcycle, and from Zhengzhi University to Leshan, which is an hour 30 minutes ride, which is very long, and especially sometimes we were going there in the early morning, which is 3 a.m. And then we almost like going to sleep, and Wan-Yu will always like knock me like, wake up, don't fall asleep. Or every time we go back and we feel very tired, I almost fall into sleep while riding a bicycle. But it's interesting because at the time when we ride motorcycle to Los, and we see a huge long construction of the MRT, and that for me was a very long journey of preparing to go to Los, and then you start slowly thinking about what changed their life, what changed the society.
And I can remember that outside the Loshan is a big road, and
Very busy.
very busy.
Oh.
And when we entered Loshan, at the time it still have a lot of trees, and actually it's really beautiful, and
Released.
and yeah, and like in a different
Or
temperature.
temperature.
Yes, so, and really beautiful, and it's really hard to imagine that this is we have this kind of space in the city nearby.
So at the time when we were shooting, we basically talk about our movie when we are on motorcycle, in case we fall into sleep. So we keep talking and what are we going to do next? What are we going to shoot later, and what are we going to shoot after this journey? So we go there every week. I think the next month,
Yeah,
we go there. We go there every weeks,
Mm.
and we're trying to let them know us as more often as possible. And the interesting part is that we decide to go to the people who are willing to move away to the new hospital, and also we are also interview with people who doesn't want to move. So we travel, like we spare the time. One part is interview with the patients in the new hospital, and we also interview with the people who are anti the eviction. So we try to develop our word to understand these issues, and I think we also go into the meeting of the self-help organization and trying to know more about why they don't want to move, what's the core of the core issues of these anti-evictions. We're trying to understand more, and then we make a film. I think at the time we were very extremely hard working and careful about this issue.
I think one of the very remarkable thing about this film is that this film not only chronicles the struggle of Luzon Sanitarium and its resistance against the government and metro company, but also capture like the very daily life of the residents. So can you also talk about the narrative choice? Because in the film you can see they are mostly focused on like two characters, which is Uncle Wen-Zhang and Aunt Jing Ying. So maybe can you talk about this choice?
At the beginning, we try to follow a few residents in different situation and different perspective to the movement. And in the end, we decide to focus on those who really need a platform to speak out. So that's and you can see like Uncle Wen-Zhang, his waist is in a very difficult situation, and is due to the mistreat by the doctor before, but he still can deal with his daily life so independently and really amaze us. And for Aunt Jing Ying, she is younger and in better health condition, and at the time she worked for, it's like she care for other residents and earning money in the sanatorium. And so if we follow her, we can go to every corner to the sanatorium and meet different people there. So like Bao Lianshen is one of the residents she take care for, and there's a lot of the residents, they came from so many different backgrounds, and they speak different language, and they can still they
Coexist in the same place. Co-living.
Yeah, co-living,
Co-living.
and with different language they still can communicate. So yeah, so
Okay, yeah, so at the time, remember when we get to Lausanne, we always trying to find residents to talk, and the uncle will always sit in his what's that called, his chair in front of his garden, and then we always say, I remember the first couple visit, I think the second visit or third visit, he is the person we can talk with. Like he was sitting.
and there's a lot of
students go there as well to
and
talk to
the
him.
other residents will have a chat
There in his
with
garden.
him every day.
Yeah. So he was, I think I because I was still reading those materials. I remember at the time we were talking to Uncle Wen, and at the time we were very young, and I asked a lot of direct question like, why do you keep there, and how do you feel like other other people in the society are thinking about of you. And I think he is quite clear about his own perspective, why he's fighting and why he's not willing to move. What's the meaning of his life mean for him? So at the time, it's really persuasive compared to other residents in other in the hospital. I think it's less persuasive to me. And then we visit In. In is a person who always like NPC. You know NPC in the game? Like you go there, you explore a certain new part of the world. Like you follow Jingyin, you will find a great mom who is only speak Taiwanese and who is always hiding in a corner. Or you follow Jingyin, you will see old grandpa who only speak traditional Mandarin. So through her eyes, we see the new perspective of lesson, and that's how we get into their daily life, and that's why we find the charming part of their daily life, which is different from other documentary director at the time. Most of the documentary director came to Lausanne to document their social movement. But we are different. It's just because we're trying to know them, we're trying to know their life, we're trying to find a connection between us and then to each other. And that was very interesting part of life with Happiness. And of course, we also follow the social movement. We still go into the New Taipei city's debate. We still go into lots of political demonstration. However, that's not the main part of life with Happiness. I think I remember when we were young, I think some critique are challenging our editing strategy, right? You don't know? They were thinking about this is a good movie, but the editing skill was quite immature. Because we said you don't know. At the time, we're trying to the first part will be the live part, and the second half of the part is more about the demonstration, and then we go back to the live. So it was quite, traditional, like the beginning, opening, and then change, and the end. So it's like quite safe, quite conservative structure of the storytelling, I think, at the time.
What's wrong with that?
This film is co-directed by you two, and so as that is in college years, maybe you can also talk a bit about how you collaborative process and how long it takes to film and make this film.
So at the time that we were 21 to 22, and we will almost graduate from college, and we were searching for the topic that we can work together. And at the time, we were two very hardworking college students, and so at the time we work together, we are trying to be always making an A+ out of everything. And so at the time we were shooting, we were trying to learn documentary as well, making a documentary as well. So what's the process? When we start to shoot, we will begin to read a lot of books, and we were trying to watch the tape and trying to
It's like every time after the shooting, and we are watch the tape together and discuss with every
details.
details, and what's the motivation about Why we have to move?
Why do we move at this point?
Yeah, or blow up, or
How can we improve the sound? Like for example, we are shooting like this, right? But then how does the sound has a direction, but how does the sound make a direction as well? Because we usually face a group of people.
yes.
So how are we working together so that
Yeah, what's the most important things we should record and capture, and let's show our thoughts as well. So we have to discuss together every time and make sure we can understand each other's thoughts.
So basically, we made a decision. I made a decision. She made a decision, and then after 3 hours, when we got back to dormitory, we started looking at tapes, and we're trying to sync our thought together, and for the next time, for the next shooting. So we know why we are moving and what is the rules. What is the rules? Yeah, what is the rules when we are doing this decision? For example, still nowadays when we go into Ponai dorm, that we have certain spot for shooting, right? So it's like this is the most coverage spot for shooting the long shot, and how can we have a cutaway shot, and how do we organize our shot, even though we don't have a shooting list, but we know that we talk about the shooting list, we know what's the next every time on set.
And we are writing diary every day.
Yes. So
for what we feel and every details besides the in the shooting and questions as well, so we can recall a lot of thoughts together and discuss the difference between us.
So I think basically we shot for 5 hours, but maybe we talk about 5 more hours even more. So
Yes.
yeah. So I think there's certain thing that very special about this movie is like the connection with the patients and the residents. Because when after we show in at the time we are showing the graduate work, the day that the self-help organization, and they rent a big bus and bring everyone to our school and to see the movie. Can you imagine how special it is? Because at the time there's so many crews came to Lausanne to shoot, and they all build a different relationship with them. However, I think for us it's very special. It's like the association support us in certain stage that we feel we are very special to them.
I can imagine it must be really maybe kind of like a rare situation for a student to like have a screening with the inhabitants of Lausanne Sanitarium together to watch the film together. And as both of you have since continued working in film as a filmmaker, so maybe I'm really curious about how now, maybe looking back, how you two think about this film and how it means to you respectively.
For me, actually, at the time I never really considered this as my personal work, because during the whole process we feel that we're supported by so many people, and it's like the story is, we want to put the story into the society, and maybe we don't think we doing very well at the time. We feel that there's too much thing we cannot handle. So I remember that we got actually quite a big prize at the time, is from the Golden Horse.
Taipei at the time they have a special video
Yeah, 一个 digital video
festival award.
Yeah. But we feel that the ownership is not for us.
Should be for the movement.
Yeah, and we are thinking about how can this film work for the movement. And for me, that for us, that because it's a short film, so it's easy to spread and spread the information about the Russian situation and the movement. So we just let them to use to a lot of places and screening a lot. So if I look back to this film in my filmmaker's life, in the beginning actually I don't have a dream to become a filmmaker, but after so much years later, I feel that I can still try to recall my original intention about why I'm trying to capture things, and I will encourage myself to think all the issues further and deeper.
I think for me, Life with Happiness is a very heavy work for me. I mean, not like heavy as a story or film as itself. It's a heavy work that it's always marked in my career. I think that especially early as a young documentary director, that you got a lot of attention because of this work. So at the time I was trying to prove myself. I have other talent. I have other skill other than making documentary or making a movie about Lausanne Sanatoria. And which also means how important this experience for me. So I felt like certain time I felt haunted by this film. However, I still really like this film. There's a lot of part of the decision I cannot remake. Even nowadays, I am a mature filmmaker. I think there's so many things happened in Life with Happiness is so unique. And nowadays, still looking at those footage, I can see how special everything happened to me, and that defined me as a citizen. As not only a filmmaker but a citizen. Why am I exist at work in the world? Why am I using my camera, telling the story? How am I going to communicate my idea to the society and the later generation? So for me, it's quite important, and it's very beyond the words that I can describe it.
Following the previous question for Ya-Ting, your first feature film, Island of the Wind, had its world premiere at Taipei Film Festival and won the Grand Prize. And this film not only marked the 20th anniversary of the Lausanne movement, but also unveiled the 20 years in making. And maybe can you briefly talk about such a journey and decision of revisiting the Lausanne Sanatoria short film?
As we share our experience, Lausanne Sanatoria plays a very big part in our life. I think I remember 2016 because of a big parade, and the Lausanne youth invited me and Wan-Yu get back to Lausanne to shoot some interview about the memory of Lausanne entrance. And at the time was 10 or 12 years later after we finished our shooting. And when we got back to Lausanne, for me it was like all the time I think going back to lesson to shoot is a very difficult things. Like so difficult. You have to have a lot of preparation. You have to face your failure as a young filmmaker before. You have to face the frustration that the documentary work cannot change anyone's life. You have to go through a lot of this process, but once we put our camera in front of the residents and every feeling going back, like so unique. Like when we start to shoot, the first person we shot is Wan-Yu, and immediately the memories coming back. The way he look at the camera, the way he talking to us are so similar. Even though lesson changed a lot after the demolish, and they get old, and however the feeling of unchanged is still so strong to me. So it was quite curing. At the time I would think it's terrible, but going back to the same place and you were shooting, learning so much as a child, you are so afraid to see the fact that you didn't grow up at all for 12 years. However, the process of shooting there makes me feel that even though it's okay if I don't grow up, and then going back is a very curious process. And I think Jessica, Wan-Yu, and I worked together for a year, right? At the time, at the beginning of the journey, and then, yeah. Do you want to talk about that? And she left, because of a personal reason. So then I started my own journey. That was quite new actually for me, because in lesson we all showing up together as a group. So after she left, I need to build up my own relationship with the residents, with the patients, and facing another big failure as a camera person, that my eyesight get weak, and my movement gets slower, and I feel very easily get tired, and the camera become bigger and more complicated. And how can I work with the new situation? So, but it's very interesting, I think, for me to just learning the new me, new lesson, new policy, new struggle in shooting